Hi, so this is a video which is uh, regarding what I discussed in my last podcast episode, which is to do with what I call the Safeway Vibe. And this afternoon I had a lovely experience. So it actually started a couple of hours ago when I was feeling a bit upset about everything that had been happening to me. Some of you already know some of that, the details of that, but feeling a bit upset about that. And I came across a post on X, which created by someone I follow, and her name's Jamie Christopherson, and she creates wonderful art, beautiful art, and she posted one of her paintings, and I very often retweet them because they bring a splash of joy and colour to my day. But she mentioned something about flowing like water around obstacles, and you know, it's lovely to always have those reminders, isn't it? And so but it reminded me of Ram Dass and something he said about when he encounters obstacles, that he said, also. And that's a saying that I adopted, a phrase I adopted, and I've used a lot over the last several months. And I commented that on her post, and then a few moments afterwards I was sort of sat contemplating, and I heard his voice come through. And as you know, as some of you know, I have ESP experiences. I receive communication from what some call the other side, the non-physical realms, and it's been a saving grace to me throughout these experiences, I have to say. But I heard his voice come through, and he said, hi, this is a friend of Ramdev, and it's his voice. And Ramdev is still alive. He was a friend of Ram Dass, and he's the director of Living Well, Dying Well. Or at least he founded it, and he's their front man, so to speak. But I was going to take one of their courses last year and study to be an end-of-life doula, but unfortunately my plans were derailed by what happened last summer, and so I had to abandon that plan. But I heard his voice come through, and he said that they were trying to create a channel to come through to me, to sort of put aside what was happening to me, the transmission of this system, and what these people are trying to do, and also this NHI, okay, the interference they're trying to create with my life at the moment. And he said they were trying to create a channel to come through, to give me some peace, to give me some respite, and to send through some energy. And that was beautiful. That was lovely to hear, and so heartening, and I'm very grateful. And then a moment after that, I had a vision of Ram Dass giving me a big hug on the other side, on the other plane that he was speaking to me from. And he said that when you come home, you'll get a big hug, okay? And as soon as he hugged me in that vision, I felt this profound. I started to cry. It moved me to tears. It was beautiful. It was so healing, and so heartening. Like I said, instantly healing in that sense, and being with him in that space, like I said, was triggered what I'm about to describe to you next. So again, I had a very emotional moment afterwards, and it meant a lot to me. And I wish it for everyone, and I know that someday everyone's going to have that experience. Okay, sorry, the sun's sort of the sun is in my face right now. But I know someday everyone is going to have that experience, and that's something that they wanted me to share with you all as well, is that to get across that, this is for everyone, you know, everyone's being supported, everyone has their cheerleaders or whatever. You're not cheerleaders, but there's plenty of support for people, you know. Just reach out, ask for it, you know, ask for Ramdas, ask for anyone, they'll come through to you. If you need that help, they'll be there for you. I know they will. You know, again, it might, again, you'll, whatever form it comes in, you will receive that help, okay, if you stay open to it. And if you know, again, the more open you are, the more these things start to happen increasingly, okay. That's one thing I will say. If they know you're receptive to it, they will try and come through to you, okay. So, and this is why I advocate so much for going through your consciousness in order to, that's why I believe that going through consciousness is so important in our world, because people look to external things for solutions, but I've found the most peace, the most love, the most support from the spirit, the non-physical realms. So the next thing I'm going to say is with regards to what happened after the crying session that I had. As soon as that energy cleared, I started to see images again of myself and Ramdas on this other plane of reality, and with that was a very clear transmission of what I call the Safeway Vibe. It's an energy, and it's actually when I experienced that earlier, I heard someone say to me, a male voice say to me, it's the home signal. And because I kept saying it's home, and I've said this before, you know, it's home, it's our home, and I kept saying home, like E.T. But it is home, it's our home, and there's a very, very unique energy that comes with that plane of reality, and it's one which I'm sure, when I said this in my last podcast episode, please feel free to listen to it if you feel more so inclined, is a specific energy that accompanies that signal, that is that signal made, that what that signal is made up of is a very specific energy, okay, a loving, beautiful, unique energy, which I'm certain if other people felt that energy, if I could transmit that to you, there would be part of you that would remember. Part of you would be triggered to remember certain things, okay, or maybe not straight away, but over time it might trigger an awakening of sorts, a remembering. I experienced it when I was a kid a few times, and I didn't know it at the time, but over the last few years I've been drawn back to those periods of time, those times in my childhood. And what I've realized literally in the last few hours, although I have mentioned it before to other people, and that's why I called it the Safeway Vibe, because it involves a Safeway supermarket, is that I've realized that it was my higher self, or my soul, whatever you want to say. I was just being guided to look back at those times, to identify with that energy, as a way to remember, okay, as a way of remembering that there was a part of me that was trying to remember home, because I've been through a horrendous ordeal. I can't even put into words the torture and the trauma that I've been through in my life. I know everybody's had a difficult, you know, a lot of people have their stories, you know, I appreciate that, and I'm not, you know, trying to get any attention for this, and I wouldn't wish what I've been through on anyone. Not a single person deserves, but I think part of me, there was part of my soul was trying to, or God, or, you know, my higher self guides, I don't know who exactly, okay, but part of me, I believe it was more likely my soul that was trying to guide me, my higher self, trying to guide me back to times in my life where to revisit that energy, because to remind me of home, okay, basically, to remind me of home, to give me comfort that this Sunday it's all going to be okay again, and it really did, and it makes me feel emotional now just talking about it. But yeah, so I hope, again, I wish I could transmit that energy to you, but I'm telling you, if you felt that energy that I feel when I connect with the other side, and it's getting more and more frequent, I have to say, and I think it's because we need more support on this planet, and I know I need more support, definitely, but I feel like we are facing, as I've said, many, many challenges, and I think that there is an invitation for us to connect more and more through our consciousness, okay, to these forms of support. They are there, people are there, like beings are there ready to help and expand our conscious, you know, to help us to come out of suffering as much as we can, to help change things on the planet. If you're welcome to it, if you're receptive to it, they will help you. Again, there's no, the one thing I will say is that there's no obligation for anyone to do anything. There's no obligation, because I think there's an understanding by these beings that life doesn't work out that way sometimes, basically, okay? And that everybody's on a certain trajectory, and you've got to respect that. And that's a big lesson I've had to learn as well over the years. And but the other thing I will say, with regards to time, and I mentioned this in the video I posted on here last week, with regards to time, it's becoming more and more common for me to experience what's some called time slippage. And again, I've explored this previously in terms of how I feel that time is non-linear. On this plane of reality, time feels like a tangible thing. It feels more realistic. It feels more real because things change. It feels like there's an unfolding that's taking place, and it feels linear, and that's fine. But on other planes of reality, in other systems, in other worlds, you know, it's not the same. And you can jump into the past, the future. You can time travel. You can go back. I believe you can go back into previous lives. You can probably relive previous lives as well, from what I've seen. I go back to what I posted, like, again, the video I posted last week, and you can take a look at that if you want to see what I'm talking about here. But again, you can reach across space and time. Those concepts go out the window. They go out the window when you're on those planes of reality, okay? So time is non-linear. Everything is happening simultaneously from a much higher perspective. It is happening simultaneously, and I said that again last week. You know, it's happening at the same time, so it makes it easier if you are on a certain plane of reality. Again, you can jump in and out of different lives, different periods of time. You can visit, you can go back, forward, side to side. You can go very much like Seth says in Seth Speaks by Jane Roberts, the channeled materials, who I've said before. Seth, I love Seth. I think Seth is one of my favorite channeled materials, because I can relate to I love the way he described the creation of the physical realm. I love how he described that. It's one of those beautiful, poetic, like gorgeous descriptions that just always makes me so joyful, and just like, I don't know, I can just feel like all that is. I can feel God like in those channelings. So that's so in terms of the time slippage as well, and time dilation and things like that, I think because things are becoming more automated on this planet, I think that's also having an effect on our experience of time. This artificial connection, this synchronous, is paving the way for more synchronicity, because we are all being artificially connected to each other, and I believe it's affecting our experience of time. Like I said, it's making it easier for things to be changed. Weirder things are going to happen, because again, there is the connection there for beings, non-human intelligence specifically, I'm thinking, but also people as well, to manipulate certain aspects of a reality. We don't need to have also I will say this again, like, I do think that there is an attempt also to open, there's an invitation again for people to get more in touch with their spirituality, their consciousness, This is to offset, like I said, like Ram Dass said to me in that message, this is to offset the effects of what's happening with this AI stuff, okay? And to be honest with you, what Ram Dass said is one of the clearest indications possible that I've had from the other side, that basically this is, do you know what I mean? This is causing way too much. This is oppressing our consciousness, okay? This is oppressing our consciousness in that sense, that these frequencies, these, you know, technologies are making it harder for people to access those planes of reality, because they're causing too much distortion, okay? So yeah, so again, like I said, they had to clear a channel for me to actually come through, for them to be able to come through, because in the last 24 hours, I have been through a lot, okay, with regards to targeting, with regards to the oppression. It's been really difficult, okay? So, you know, I'm just gonna say, like, again, I'm not trying to say anyone's bad or anything is bad, but what I am saying is, like, these technologies are making it more difficult for people to have to access those planes of consciousness, okay? Because, you know, we have that ability innately to do this, okay? We don't need to be interconnected with technology. And as I said in a post earlier, I believe we are recreating this, or we are trying to recreate something within us, an imprint within us, a memory of home through these artificial connections. We are trying to recreate home. We're trying to recreate something that deep down, a memory that we have deep down of what it's like to be, have that sense of interconnectedness, okay? And that's, I believe that we're doing that through the internet, we're doing it through all these different things. And there's a part of us that longs for home. There's a part of us that is trying to transcend being human through AI, okay? But we don't need to do that. We already are. All we need to do is try and remember. All we need to do is, like, you know, meditate, journal, get out into nature, start doing some self-inquiry. The people have been doing this stuff for hundreds of years. They've been having experiences like this for hundreds and thousands of years. They haven't needed to have chips planted in their bodies to do this stuff, okay? So, you know, this is what I'm trying to say to people, is that, like, yes, I understand, like, we're all anxious being on this planet and we have these anxieties, and don't get me wrong, there are benefits to technology. I'm not denying that, okay? There are, and I've got to balance this by saying that, but and I believe that is true, but we're going too far the wrong way. And I think that, you know, it feels like there's a balance that's trying to be corrected at the moment, and that's why there's so much friction on the planet. And I think that's what's happening here, because I did an oracle card reading yesterday a couple of times, and the same sort of cards keep coming out again and again. I took pictures of them, I made notes about them, but indicating the same thing, that basically there are aspects on this planet that can't be avoided anymore. That basically there are ways of being, systems on this planet that we can't live like this anymore. They need to be addressed. The things must be sorted out, like, we need to address them, okay? So that's a very, very clear message that I received. So again, but a lot of this technology reliance is sort of like a hankering for home, trying to recreate that, like, oneness, trying to recreate that sense of interconnectedness. And it's a very poignant idea if you think about it. As much as it's hurt me, as much as it has destroyed my life, it's actually quite poignant if you think about the way that it's, you know, despite what these beings are doing, this non-human intelligence, okay, it's actually quite sad, it's quite tragic. You think about the trauma and the suffering and the anxieties that sort of feed into, I think, people wanting all these elixirs and technologies to take away their to sort of relieve themselves of their humanity or their suffering on this planet, okay, or but there are other ways through that. That's what I'm trying to say. There are other ways through that, okay? So you know, we can do more, and you know, I'm hoping that we can change the course we're on, okay? And you know, through working through our consciousness, I'm hoping that we can bring people together and to change, you know, to make the world a place where people like me don't have to go through things like this. It's not just that. That's not even the point. But make the world a place where, you know, we can really progress, truly progress, okay? Limit suffering wherever possible. Obviously we can't avoid it completely, because you know, we were born and we will die, and there's a lot of change in between that we go through, but there are better ways for us to be, and a lot of that will involve disclosure, okay? I know I mention it a lot, but disclosure of all kinds needs to happen, like disclosure about UAP, disclosure about the cataclysms that these people are preparing for or have anticipated. You know, I still feel like we should be doing things to mitigate against anything like that they are anticipating, okay? And also disclosure of other types as well. There is a lot of information that has been suppressed over the years. A lot of people have died and had their lives destroyed along the way because they have been in the way of that. They have been in the way of the agenda of these people. And again, I'm one of them. But again, this is not about me. But we need to make this world a better place for future generations to live in. You know, that's the point. We need to try our best to do that, and for ourselves as well, for each other, okay? There's still hope for everyone here that we can do that, but it's gonna take a bit of a shift in culture and approach, and exactly. So there you go. I hope you get the message about what I'm trying to say here. I hope this has been useful to you in some way. I will talk about this again in future probably, but I think it's a really important message I wanted to get through to everyone, to give you some hope, because we're going through some difficult times, okay? So thank you once again, and have a good week.